Because I think when Christ talked and walked, he used the world that he lived in, the agrarian, the rural, the farming, right? The world that he lived in. He used the culture and the lavore, the work that the people were doing in the Jewish world to teach them about God's good news, right? The world that we live in today is so very influenced by technology and media that we as Catholics need to use that world today, because that's the influence on the people today. Cinema, music, television in particular. We need to use the world that we are living in and the examples of human beings living and working and loving in that world today. Those are the stories of Christ in people's lives that we need to be telling. Technology, computers, the advancement and the influence of film on the young people. If I would suspect, I cannot say, but if Christ was alive today, he would certainly be calling out and befriending and having fellowship and meals, food with the artists. Do you agree?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right? Right? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is. I preface by saying it was a realization of how prodigal I was, right? And I'm a convert in 1995 to the faith, to Mother Church. Prior to that, I was raised Lutheran. Do you know the Lutheran faith, right? But I fell away, and I was married, and I fell away from my marriage. And in that fall, the grace of God was given to me to ask for help and seek help and healing. And in that period of time, someone asked me to come to a Mass. And that Sunday, I had never really experienced in the Mass the opportunity to get on my knees during the consecration. And that Mass, that during the liturgy, moved me to ask the priest if I could sit down with him. And at that meeting, in my witness, I tell people that was my first confession. Confession, right? Whew, right? And after I unloaded, told him as much as I could at the time, the first words out of his mouth were, "Well, it's obvious you are in a state of grace." And how could someone say that to me after all that I had revealed? Altaris Christus. And so not long after that, I started to look into the rite of Catholic initiation into the faith, right? Yeah. You cannot do it without, I think, some spiritual direction. You need Mother Church through some spiritual direction to help you to learn to pray, so that in conversation with Christ, you realize that you're not alone, and that the solution to the challenges is not secular, it's spiritual. It's St. Paul that says the only thing that I have to boast about is Jesus Christ. That's really the only topic. But through the art and through lavore, you realize that Christ is leading you to teach, to choose roles, to become more efficient and a better, effective artist, and gives you the inspiration and the creativity. I am convinced of this. It is a calling, it is a charism. It is a charism, the Catholic artist. It's a calling, and then it has to be in response. So we have to learn how to say, what do you want me to say? How do you want me to go about this? Christ, how do I approach this character? How do I approach this script? How do I approach because I'm a direttore, see, how do I approach the company, my actors, my designers, my creative people? We forget who we are and what we're supposed to be doing, right? My work is Christ's work. It's not my work, right? Right? And I think that is why I'm so excited. And so I feel very youthful. If I don't look in the mirror, right? I get excited about this time in my life. I think what I'm looking for, to help Father Mavriche is, have you seen the short Prodigal yet?
No,
not yet. Well, I know. I just have the sense that the opportunity to tell St. Vincent's story in the 21st century has to do with a 21st century story that complements the events of his realizing his charism in a man or woman or group or community now. Does that make sense? So in other words, the history of him realizing that family needed help from that congregation, that is history. That is happening all the time here now in the 21st century, right? In our parishes, in our communities, in very dynamic, very 21st century ways. Do you see what I mean? So to go back and compare, to complement, that's what I'm thinking. You know what I'm saying? Right? And it's the same as when the sisters say, I saw Christ in this person today. Right? I think the 21st century feature film is about seeing St. Vincent's charism in a child today, in a elementary school environment, in a hospital, right? In a sporting event, something that makes us all stop and realize that that's why he's a saint. That's why we need to ask him for intercession, because he can go to Christ and say, you know. I'm interceding for Clarence on this film, right? Give him this unique, particular opportunity to create this character that touches people's hearts. Does that make sense? Right, so it's almost like a film about the intercession of St. Vincent in lives today. That's exciting, right? Yes, and it's true, right? The truth, it's the truth.
It's the new.
Right, but it's dynamic. It's as I say in my studio, it's now.